Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 674. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Selner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, Sega Lives. Panzer Dragoon Orta joins the list. More on that later. Matt, what does the original Xbox mean to you?
Xbox. Let's think of that.
It's true. Yeah,
The screams. I know.
all caps.
Mountain Dew, the color green, Doritos. I guess a chef of masters.
Yeah, him too. It all just felt cool to me. I never owned one, and I think maybe because I didn't own one, it felt enigmatic, and I think anything enigmatic is inherently cool. But yeah, I'm with you. The green and the black really worked. Still works. Still solid. Um, I think it did a lot for that. It was a neat console. I also always think of Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey, with that being the launch title for original Xbox. I just always think of Xbox as being sort of like, even though I know and I knew at the time that Oddworld started on PlayStation, I was like aware of that, but it's still like having it moved over to Xbox. Xbox just felt like it wasn't afraid to do weird, ugly stuff. It's kind of doing that next generation of
Sure.
whatnot. I don't know, but in a good way, not in a Blinks way. Uh, Now available on PC. But one thing I think I've come to associate the Xbox with in later years is the second chance for the Dreamcast. Because we saw
Sure. Yeah.
after the Dreamcast left the market, we saw Sega take a lot of the sequels that had been in development for Dreamcast and move them over to Xbox and other platforms. Like we did get like Sonic Adventure on GameCube and PS2. Some of the other stuff like that, Monkey Ball, I think eventually made it to PS2 and maybe Xbox, I think. But um, yeah, dude, like this stuff, like Panzer Dragoon is still an Xbox exclusive. Jet Set Radio Future still an Xbox exclusive. House of the Dead 3 was another Sega one that was only on Xbox back then. Um, Trying to think of some other ones. I mean, I wonder if Otogi would have been a Dreamcast game had things gone differently with the Dreamcast. I know that wasn't Sega internal, but yeah. Um, yeah, it was another chance. Shenmue 2, even released only on Xbox in North America. And of course, Panzer Dragoon Orta, which is today's topic of the podcast, developed by Smile Bit, published by Sega, released on the Xbox January 14th, 2003 in North America. The back of the box reads, "From the shadows of history, a legend reawakens. Years ago, a legacy was born that ruled the skies. As the world is once again engulfed in the flames of war, you must become mankind's only hope. Take control of a powerful dragon and annihilate the legion of enemies that seek only to destroy you. Use strategic positioning, multiple dragon forms, and furious berserk attacks to overcome insurmountable odds and become master of your destiny once more." Panzer Dragoon Orta. This is at least our second. Maybe it's just our second Smilebit video game on the list. We previously did Jet Set Radio, or Jet Grind Radio, as it was called on the Dreamcast. I think that might be it. I don't think we did any others. Fun fact, though, the other one we may have almost played is Gun Valkyrie. Have you seen Gun Valkyrie before?
Yes.
I only opted for Panzer Dragoon because of the controls for Gun Valkyrie. I've played a good bit of that game and it's got a learning curve. And I think once you learn it, it's fun, but it takes a long time to get there. Where Panzer Dragoon, much more approachable. I think the overall flow of the game, I think, works better in Panzer Dragoon as well. So I opted for that one. But prior to me adding Panzer Dragoon Orta to the list, what did you know about it? This or the series as a whole?
Not much. So I knew it was like a fantasy type rail shooter,
Okay, yeah.
but like I didn't even realize the camera perspective part of the rail shooter. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
assumed it was Dragon, Star Fox.
You're not too far off. Uh, do you feel like that's wholly different now, I guess?
It's not wholly different, but I didn't realize there's some depth to it. Not that Star Fox doesn't have depth, but there's more to it than just holding an A
Yeah. There's a bit more.
and hitting maybe the occasional bomb button.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, yeah, I kind of set up why I added this to the schedule, but I guess um, for me, the other part is I remember. I'll have to double check and see when this was first added, but not long after I got my Xbox One, which I was pretty late. I think I got that in 2017. This had been added to the backwards compatibility stuff. April 2018 is when it was added. And yeah, I don't know. I remember buying it pretty quickly then, I think, and just checking it out because it's cool. Like it's an Xbox exclusive from Sega that we haven't had anywhere else. Panzer Dragoon as well has just sort of been a dead series for a long time. Um, so I don't know. It seemed intriguing to have like a Sega thing. I think $10 on Xbox on the Xbox store, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, and then kind of looking at something I need to do better with when planning our schedules is looking at both my wish list across platforms, but also my library across platforms to see what I've already got or the things that at some point I said, boy, I'd like to play that and figure out if it makes sense for the schedule. And this was one of those where I was kind of like looking for something different to add to the schedule. Um, Thinking about how I was bringing some Dreamcast stuff into this and some other things, but also still wanting like an original Xbox entry to cover this year because we've done some original Xbox stuff over the last few years. And I'd never finished this one, despite buying it and playing a good bit of the way into it. I'd never actually wrapped it up. So I wanted to see it through. And see it through I have. Uh, so yeah, throughout this here episode, we'll talk through the gameplay, the story included in our gameplay section. We'll talk about the visuals, sound, and we'll share our final reviewers' thoughts before ranking it on thefreecheese.com/the list. I keep wanting to like lean on my hand this episode. I need to sit up straight because we're on Vidya. Plus, when you sit up straight, your voice. I gotta stop slouching, but I'm feeling lethargic. Um, Orta. I think you set it up before. This is a Star Fox. It's an on-rail shooter set in a fantasy world. Um, there's branching paths depending on actions you take or don't take within a level. And yeah, you get some cool cutscenes. You get text that kind of explains things and sets things up. Um, that's the loop. Boss fights at the end of most stages, and that you got yourself a Panzer Dragoon Orta. I've played a bit of the first game on Saturn. I played some of its remake, which I wouldn't say I'd not recommend it, but the problem is like a lot of the Panzer Dragoon stuff on Saturn is really expensive now. Um, and it hasn't had like a good formal re-release outside of the remake that was published by Forever. And that and the House of the Dead remake are just they're they're made in Unity and they're just really rough. They're really sluggish. I do think like if you play them on better hardware, it gets a little bit better. Like if you play the Switch version on a Switch 2, I think you have a better time, but eh. Um I think this might be the best, most approachable, accessible way to buy and play a Panzer Dragoon game in 2026. Which is why this is the one I landed on. Um but yeah, you're shooting. You talked before also about sort of changing forms. You want to talk about the morph mechanic a bit?
Yeah, with the press of the Y button, you change forms. So there is base. Is it attack,
Base, heavy,
heavy, and glide?
glide. Yeah.
So they each do. Well, they all kind of do stuff. It's just how well they do them or what
Mm-hmm.
their specialty is. But base form, it is. So I guess let's just talk about the mechanics of the game. It's a 300 or 360-degree rail shooter, so you can look all around in all the directions, kind of up and down as well at various times. And then for controls, so A is to shoot, but there are different methods of shooting. There is a lock-on mechanic, very res like,
Yes.
um, and just mash an A will shoot things. So very early on, I think even the tutorial it tells you like you should be locking and shooting for maximum damage. So you'll be kind of doing that. And then there is a glide mechanic. So as you're on rails, like of course, like the game is controlling the tempo and the flying speed. You're moving around for the most part, but there are times where you might need to kind of go fast or go slow depending on enemy attack, dodging things in the peripherals, things of that nature. X is to go faster, and B is to slow down. Um, and then, yeah, I believe on a regular Xbox controller, L and R would go 90 degrees left to right, and if you pull both
Yeah.
triggers, it will go full 180 around for you. And then a Berserk mode, I believe it would be black,
Black. Yeah.
on the Xbox controller. So yeah, so with that being said, base mode allows for more locks at one time and like a kind of a faster rate of fire, albeit a little bit less damage than its counterpart, heavy mode. Now, heavy mode, there was only like 3 locks as opposed to the base mode having 8, but they
Yeah.
will do more damage. And then just mash an a bit slower, but just hits harder. However, in base mode, you are still able to glide. Glide uses a meter at the bottom where your health is. It's a yellow meter that constantly refills. That meter, you get 2 glides at kind of pretty much back to back before you have to refill a portion of the meter to get one back. In heavy mode, you do not have that. You are kind of
Yeah.
stuck. And you also move
Completely grayed out.
slower around the screen as well, which comes into play with some of the more difficult fights and areas. And then the final mode is glide mode. So I just talked about gliding. In glide mode, you get 3 of the things. Now, granted, again, if you mash them, you'll have to let it recharge, but it's a faster recharge, I believe, as well as banking more of them in one go. But with glide, you do not have a lock-on mechanic per se. You actually shoot into an area. It's like a cone, which is a targeting reticule. But the game will automatically determine what it will take out in that circle.
Within that. Yeah.
Also, the game tells you in the tutorial to, at times, let go of A and redo it, so that way it picks up more priority-based things, which comes into play as missiles come
Yeah.
at you and you're shooting the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, so that one, it becomes it doesn't call it defense, but it very much becomes your defense mode, um, quickly. So yeah, that's the three modes. So, at any time, now I explain the modes. You can hit Y, and you're changing among the three. So
Yeah.
from base to heavy to glide to base to heavy. That, so you know, you kind of have to remember where you're at, but there. It's not like you're in heavy for this one section of the level and your dragon transforms to glide for this section of the level. No, you're in control of all of it, and you decide how you want to approach the level. There's clearly levels where it wants you to be in glide as opposed to heavy. There's also levels where it wants you to be in heavy as opposed to glide. I think you could probably get away with being base on like all the levels, but you're kind of doing yourself a disservice by sticking to just one and not exploring the other options. So I think that's
Yeah.
where this game kind of has a few more legs in it than your Star Fox.
Yeah, because part of each of those morph modes is leveling them up, and you do that by
Correct.
collecting a gene base, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Um, and you get those by clearing a wave of enemies. So much like in any shooting game like this, enemies come in waves, and if you clear that wave, you'll get a gene base, and that adds a little nodule to your, your ranking. Each obviously, like the higher level you go with your wing, the more gene bases it takes to get to the next level. Um, but yeah, that's it. I think you pointed out. I think Res is a great comparison to this, and like Sega had this lineage of this stuff with Res, the original Panzer Dragoon, but even back to the '80s with stuff like Space Harrier, where Space Harrier is basically Res just with a dude with a mullet and an arm cannon, Um, and this was sort of like taking that into a different direction. I think the 360 thing is the part that makes this really stand out. But yeah, I had a lot of fun like exploring which options felt right in the moment, which ones I preferred. Just kind of you can sometimes get by without having the perfect, so you can still make it work. It might be a little bit harder to get through, but it kind of generally works. Um, Were you consciously aware of any of the branching paths or things you could do to impact them?
I figured a game like this with a quote unquote shorter runtime had something like, well, spoiler alert. So we always usually look at the how long to beat before this stuff to kind of have a gauge on how much time we can spend with the game or how close to the, recording we can get away with not necessarily playing it sometimes. So when you
Yeah.
see a game with a how long to beat that has like a main campaign of like 3.5 hours, and then the 100% completion like 58 or something stupid like that, I kind of had a feeling there might be some branching paths shenanigans.
Yeah.
Um, that was confirmed though once I completed an episode and I saw like the breakdown of the stats and it
Hmm.
showed you the path you
Yeah,
took.
you did this. Yeah.
So yes, going in, I kind of had a feeling, then was quickly confirmed after beating the first level.
I don't know though. Like I need to like look at a guide and see. I never like thought, oh, if I would have just done that, I would have.
The only level where I know had I done one thing better, I would have gotten on a different path, and it was level 7. Sorry, 6, with like the hallway keys, where it was this lock, and as you shot it, it went the circular thing, and it went green, and it unlocked the
Yeah.
door. That was
Yep, I had one of those too.
the
Yep.
only time that I was like, oh, I went here because I didn't shoot that, and I got the next two successfully and went through the door.
Good. Yep, that is exactly. I think I made all of them go. Was it blue with the final color?
Yeah, because I think they started red and they went like all the way through,
Green, blue.
or blue green or something like that. But
So, yeah,
yeah,
whatever it was,
but
there was
there's
same thing.
also
One of
like
them.
it's almost like a timer
Yeah,
like arrow
time
that
game. Yeah.
just circles all the way around. That's another indicator. But yeah, no, it's very obvious. Like as you lock onto it, like you're supposed to shoot it and whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's some other ones like in episode 2. You got kind of kept seeing like the centipedes jump out of the water. They end up being the boss fight or one of the boss fights in that level. I wonder if you knock them out in that first run, if that's like the next path.
Oh, that could be it. Yeah.
So like
They kind of force you into that forest.
There's some idea of where it could be, but there was not many of those times where I was like, what?
Yeah.
How could I? Where's path B?
But yeah, no, not at all. Not like some of the stuff that's in Star Fox, where it's a little bit more straightforward. Yeah, but this, to that end, I think lends itself to a significant amount of replayability should you so choose it and you want to play more of this game. Which I will go back to this when I had a good time with it. It's passive. I mean, you can clear the whole game in under 3 hours.
Yeah, I didn't beat a final form of a boss, but I got to said ball 3.5.
Yeah, like it's simple enough, and you I think you can take I think you could pay attention to like look at a guide, see what you need to do differently or whatever to get to another path to see everything. Because
But
there are incentives with Pandora's box. Did you explore that
yes,
at all?
I know what's in there. I didn't do much with it though, but I saw I was unlocking more things to play and do as I kept going.
Yeah. I did a couple of the missions where you play as some boy. I don't remember his
It's
name.
the boy from the second level, right? All the way to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
5th or 6th level or something like that.
Yeah, you play as him. It's totally different, like gameplay style. Like you're more like flying a thing, like a manual helicopter car chair thing, rather than flying on a dragon. But yeah, I did a couple of those and kind of had my fill. But there's a lot. Like you can also unlock encyclopedia entries, story stuff, all this like background and lore. And I think for me, that was a lot of like what stood out about this game was the game itself. I think is fun to play. I think it's it's simple but not easy. It's challenging enough to like encourage you to like pay attention and do better and whatever, but it's simple enough to understand kind of what to do. And I think the world, like the people who made this game, love the world that they've built and designed. And you can feel that like in everything. All of the creatures are from a single place. They all kind of come from this thing. Like this is a world that feels so real, but it is complete fantasy.
Any game
Uh,
that has their own like language, I just automatically like
100%. Yep.
we've invested in the world.
Yes. If you've hit that point. And this game, so there was Panzer Dragoon, Panzer Dragoon Zwei, and then Panzer Dragoon Saga on Saturn. Those were the three. This would have been the fourth game. The first two were very much like this: fly on a dragon, shoot stuff in a rail shooter. The third game, Saga, I think that's the one that's super rare and super expensive on Saturn, is a 4-disc JRPG, which makes
Oh.
total sense given the fact that there's so much lore and all this like world built out. Um, yeah, that one's not again like it's just sitting on the table. I don't know why Sega hasn't tried to revive this. Um, it's odd. Uh, but yeah, I think it that stood out to me was like the stuff, the characters, the language, all of that stuff. Like this huge, big, deep world. Um,
So
Anything else on gameplay?
so
Yeah.
all right, so maybe that's where by like just every time the narrator and a character talked, it just felt like it went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
And like yeah, like not that I wouldn't say I wouldn't care for it. I just had like when things happen, I was like, oh, okay. It was a lot of like, oh, okay. I
'Cause
have
it's
it.
dense.
Yeah, I have it in my notes here a few times. What the hell is going on in the story? What the hell is going on story wise? I just have episode 7 memories. I just have a note, just memories.
Yep.
Nothing, no other context. And then I guess the end of the game there should be an emotional impact, and I know had I actually seen it in real time, I wouldn't have cared as much either. Um, so I don't
I
know,
had a bit of a like, oh,
but now that you said there's a whole JRPG before this game, I feel a little bit better about just not thing just not being like
yeah, because there's a lot in this game from the
understandable in a way.
start where it's like, here's Orta, here's what she's up to. She was, I like that setup for the character, like that she's born and jailed her entire life, kept prisoner until they need her to destroy stuff. But instead, she's actually going to be the savior of everyone. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just sort of like presented to you as like, but you know this already, right? So like now here's what's coming next, and yeah, a lot of it way over my head. Um, what do you think of the art direction?
I think it's cool. Again, like I don't chase fantasy, but this doesn't feel like that traditional fantasy. There's enough weird stuff going on in the background of this game, especially once you get to like episodes like 5 through the rest of the game. Things get really fucking weird. Um,
Yeah,
so like for as much as it starts, it looks like oh it's dragons and an empire.
and a
It
forest, and yeah,
changes
very
quickly.
much changes.
Um, so yeah, to that end of it, it's fine, but I think it still looks good. I think like the shift in areas, like I think each episode is distinct enough. It's like again, especially that like last third of the game where you're in some weird environments.
Did
Um,
any of that feel too off to you, or to me it kind of fit? Like I flowed with it. I mean, maybe it's to your point of just sort of like forced acceptance of the.
yeah, I wouldn't say it like I was like, oh yeah, we're here now. It was more like I'm along for the ride, kind
Yeah, like, oh, okay, I
of.
guess this makes sense. I understand.
All right, mom's talking to me. Sure, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that. But again, I thought everything. I thought like the weird stuff was cool though. I thought that's what makes
Yeah.
it got me interested in the setting more than how we just stayed with dragons and royal empire and the skies and some forest stuff.
I agree. Uh, it was a good change of pace. I don't like. For me, I think enemies always fit. Like eh, generally, like you're gonna have like types of enemies in a game like this. Like you need something small that are quick to kill that come in some sort of circular flight pattern. You need something big and menacing. You need something that's tiered and whatever. And like I think as many different combinations of that as they did, they all felt I think equally intriguing. I also love the big scale stuff, like some of the big ships you have to fight where you're like physically flying around them and changing your perspective to shoot to the left. Boss fights, like you mentioned, the two leaping
Centipede things.
centipede looking things where you're knocking off the armor, but like those, like you're fully spinning around to see where are they. You're speeding up and slowing down, and I think it all like a lot of cool enemy design in this game. One other thing I want to call out too is we both played on Xbox Series X, which this game is part of the backwards compatibility program there and takes advantage of all of the cool like upscaling and things like that that were introduced, which I think that it makes this game look so good. I'm sure this looked great on an original Xbox, but um, playing it like with 4K resolution and stuff looks really clean. I'm who knows by the time this episode goes up, um, Xbox may have expanded the PC backwards compatibility library that just launched last month, but at the time of the recording, no announcement. But I imagine this will be there. There's no way that this doesn't get added because this is, I think, one of those core Xbox experiences there. So hopefully more people get to play it. On sound, You have anything in your notes on sound? Like, I don't. For me, like the language, the fact there's like full voice acting of this made up language was pretty impressive. Um, but I don't have much in the way of like notes around music or anything like that that like stood out. Yeah.
My man screaming at the end of all these episodes. That's the only note I have. And that's the first note I have. Why did you save me?
Uh,
And it becomes a
yeah.
recurring theme.
Over and over. Yeah. The only note I took on that, or on my first note, was did they invent this language? So I think yeah, we both had these. Oh, I did write down a quote. You can be my wife. I'm sure living with me will make you feel better. It's a great proposal.
Yeah, the follow up line, though, is even better. He's like, I don't think your other two wives feel that way. Or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, but it's such a weird, like, okay, we're in an area that has. Who are these people?
Right. Where did you come from? Like, why? A lot of that. I do wonder if more of this stuff would land if we'd played Saga.
For sure. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Especially when you tell me it has a JRPG. I felt that way. Just feel like, oh well, this is. I didn't know where it was in like the order of things. I knew we were in the middle of it. It wasn't like too either. But I just kind of feel I missed some things because I had not played one or two. Then you tell me there's a JRPG. Yeah, we missed some stuff, I think.
Oh, that isn't that long. Panzer Dragoon Saga is only 15 hours for the main story.
All right.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
But still, RPG, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't, I mean, that might be gameplay, right? Who knows all the other encyclopedias? Because this is full of it.
Oh yeah, you can read a ton forever and ever. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah. Do you have any other notes on any of the main sections?
Um, I thought this game was going to get a little bit weirder when we got to episode 5 because you start on the ground and lose your
Yes.
forms. And I was like, oh, all right. So this went from Star Fox to Star Fox Assault. Got
Yes.
it. But then, yeah, you just have that. I don't want to call it a short section because there's a couple things going on there. But, well, no, it's just the main boss. But the boss fight's longer just because of the amount of damage you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of once you get through that, you regain your wings and kind of just right back to it.
That was my favorite episode, like visually though. I love the way that one looked. Just the snow, everything's covered in snow, and you're moving your way through the mountains of yeah, that was really, really pretty.
Yeah, that one I like the look of that one. I think I full one liked episode 7 with
Seven, yeah.
with the memories, and it was like when Assassin's Creed gets into the animus stuff. And it's like a totally different visual aesthetic that's going on there. It very much had the same kind of like effect on me. I was like, all right, here we are.
Yep. Still don't get it,
No,
but I'm here.
no.
Yeah, there is a 5.5 hour essay on YouTube to uncover. I'm sure
That sounds
it's out
right.
there.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Um, what did you like about Panzer Dragoon Orta?
I think it's the depth to it. Not that I don't like a Star Fox, and one of its 10,000 iterations of the original game at this point, but I think they get repetitive. I don't play a ton of them because I think they kind of get repetitive, and that I feel that way with a bunch of rail shooters. I think like Sin and I can't remember where I land on Sin and Punishment without like looking at my review, but like I feel like there was some stuff there, but I at the end of the day I think I was glad it was like short and sweet. That I got out. This one it's weird. Not that I am like itching to get back in or see the end of the other games, but like I enjoyed my time so much with this one where it's like maybe I should figure out how to do some of the different paths to get some of the other scenario stuff, so that way I can like play through that with a new, just to get more out of this game or whatever. Um, now if I actually do that, that's another thing. But I'm left with that more curiosity about it. And usually that curiosity lands more on like the story side for me. This one is one of those, I think, more rare times where the gameplay landed on that side for me, where I just want to see like what else are they doing with a rail shooter, because I feel like what they did with this game breaks some boundaries that I'm used to seeing in this genre.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like the story happens. Clearly, you just have to kind of let it wash
Dude,
over you.
that is the I
Yeah,
have to watch the cutscene because I have to kind of thing.
yeah. But yeah, the gameplay, like being drawn to that, and then just sort of seeing what happens and let it happen. Did you have an area or a stage that stood out most as your favorite? Was seven it, or was there another part where you felt like, oh, I love this a lot?
Seven, I don't remember. I don't remember what three was, but I think three's when I finally started. Like the game was clicking. Like, all right, maybe I should stay in glide form a little bit so I get a little
Yeah,
bit of the
yeah.
lay of the land, and then figure out my opportunities a little bit. And I think that was when I was like learning, like I don't have to just because I'm in glide doesn't mean I need to be stuck in it for 30 seconds. Like 5 seconds, switch. 5 seconds, like do. Like, I think three was when some of that started clicking. Um, yeah, like you said. Although like I applaud like the later stuff with the weird areas, like flying through those big ships and you're going along the wall with like the cannons. Like I thought those were really cool
Yeah, that
set
was cool.
pieces. Um, I I'm trying to think of another spot. I think that the bosses are some of the shining points as well. Um, Another mechanic we haven't talked about yet, but the with the glide stuff when you're in the bosses, you're like your I guess your HUD more so than anything else. Your little mini area radar will give you arrows that are blue or red. You can glide off to the side and change your point of view to the boss, and not just like in a 360 way. Like if you are in front of him, you can use your glide to get up to the side of him and then
Right.
behind, or
Yeah.
vice versa. So I think the boss battles, like throwing in that mechanic, was unique, and like that gets used in ways like dodge like circular attacks. So you have to kind of be careful of that. But yeah, I like that whole like glide and form mechanic a lot. And I think the bosses shine. Some of my better areas. I really liked. It was something at the top of like a tower, and there was like when you got behind it, you were more so up in the air, and it launched missiles at you. I think it had a hand. Um, Not the one you mentioned to me last night. It was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one
not
before.
episode 8.
I think it was like 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember the name of it,
But
but
yeah, the perspective changes not just from like left to right, but from up to down, where you're looking
yeah,
up at something. And yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that one was fun. I think 8 is still my favorite, just with the transforming ship and all the hands that move with lightning and all that stuff that you have to dodge. But yeah, there's a lot of.
It was from episode 4. Foom
Yeah,
Barkley.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and outside of this, like, it, does playing this make you more inclined to play other shooting games like it, or
I kind
petition for Sega to bring this back?
of I'd be interested to see what they do in a new one of the like. So where are we at? I don't know. Where are we at like series wise? I know you just said there was a remake, but is this like the last like newish one?
Yep, this is it.
Okay.
This was
Yeah.
the last time they made a new one. They did a remake of 1. There was a remake of 2 that I don't know if it ever came out, or maybe it's coming out.
I think I'd be curious to see what a new one of these looks like. before committing to it. But kind of like we don't get many of these, at least like big name ones.
No, I mean Star Fox doing that earlier this year was a total surprise. I mean, not really a surprise knowing how Nintendo has treated the Star Fox franchise, but yeah. Yeah, there's a remake of 2 that was announced for a 2021 release date, but it's just been postponed. I believe it was shown a little bit more last year, but around like Gamescom time, but nothing yet. So yeah, it's Orta is the last one. Um, which is a shame. Where's the yeah, the the head that behind the series, the guy who came up with it, uh Yukio Futatsugi, no longer with Sega, uh but did help to work on um Square 65's The Good Life, along with World's End Club. I feel like he did something else more recently that's not listed here, but yeah. Yeah, no, maybe it's that, you know what I mean? Like the creator's not at Sega anymore, so they're not chasing it, or I don't think any of those Xbox Sega games sold particularly well, so I can also see where that doesn't lend itself to, hey, let's go hurry and make more of these. Um, but gosh, I don't know. At least porting the originals. Yeah, but then again, Sega or Saturn's hard to emulate accurately. There's a lot of complications with it, I suppose. That might be the reality of it. Is just it's tough to get them going. But to your point, if you just make a new one, your boy Yu Suzuki made sort of another Space Harrier with it's like Air Twister a couple years ago. I think it was like an Apple Arcade exclusive, and then hit consoles at some point. And yeah, I don't. That might be the closest you get to something like this. But yeah. Um, Final thoughts on Panzer Dragoon Orta?
Uh, I don't know how much of this is like my first Panzer Dragoon game versus like where we're at in the series, but like with that being said, I think it's unique in a way
Yeah,
where for what it does in that genre. I think it's hard to do unique things in that genre unless you're an
yes,
arcade cabinet and your name is Time Crisis and you put a pedal somewhere, like
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
like what else can you do?
No, I think the fact that they've got such a rich world defined going into this, that it lets them do something more simple gameplay wise, but in interesting ways, and kind of branch out from there. Um, I think it really works. I don't know. I really dig it. This is not like you mentioned at the top, like around the fantasy setting and that not being always like the thing to gravitate towards. And this one works for me. There's very few fantasy settings that do work for me, but this one I'm good with. I can ride along with this. Um, yeah. I think I know it's a shorter-ish episode, but I think we're ready to rank. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thefreecheese.com/the list is where you can go and view all of the video games we've reviewed and ranked, along with hot links to those episodes so you can go listen to it in case you missed it. Uh, Panzer Dragoon joins as our 194th video game on the list. I've got this at 71.
71. Where does that put us? Let me.
This is for me placing it above Intelligent Cube, but below Vanquish.
Okay. Okay. I I landed a little bit ahead of you. I have this as the new 51.
Woo!
which it might well, that might be aging like milk here. I have it between Brain Age and Ape Escape.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Um,
Hmm.
there's definitely things where I think I might be over like
Mm-hmm.
specific titles. Like I'm looking at you, System Shock. I'm looking at you, Resident Evil, Code Veronica. But I think like the whole of that chunk, um, I kind of like. I think it's over that until then I hit Ape Escape, and then I'm like, all right, that's my the stop. Pump the brakes.
I did come into this feeling like I was low, so I'm good to climb. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that feels like.
Yeah, because I mean, as much as we like kind of, I don't want to say poo pooed, but poo pooed on the story, like that is so inconsequential to how you can enjoy this game. Like, I don't think that's gonna have.
No, and yeah, I think that's the bigger point that we meant by that is like there is a story here, but you don't. It's complex and there's layers to it, and there's a lot of like I think expected knowledge and stuff that you learn as you go or you've already known, but you don't need it to enjoy the game. And we both got through it without it and just sort of like along for the ride. The Dragon's Ride.
Now that I'm
Yeah.
looking though, I don't know. There's some stuff that I don't like this above. I don't think I went down far enough.
Yeah, but like I like this over as I look above where I was. I do like this over Phasmophobia.
Yeah,
I I like it over Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Think I like it over the original Marathon.
yeah, me too, but I might stop there.
Other M is the line.
Yeah, because I'm like thinking of like Zone of the Enders. That game's weird, and I like that a lot.
Yeah,
Um, Def Jam, you just don't get games like that anymore.
yeah, I know.
um, I mean, I love System Shock, and then it only gets harder from there. Like, I don't think this is a better game than the Guardian Legend.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Other M is a good line.
It's above Marathon 94.
Yep, and below Metroid Other M. Panzer Dragoon Orta. You know, my first exposure to the Panzer Dragoon saga, if you will, was Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed. There's a Panzer Dragoon stage in the game, and yeah, it was cool. They had good music that stood out in that at least. I think they did some interesting stuff in the little stage, knowing what I know now about Panzer Dragoon, and I hope they put Panzer Dragoon stuff in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Although the Ninja Turtles, I don't know the Panzer Dragoon can hold up with today's audience, you know?
Well, you gotta get the free Sega characters. Don't get
I know, I know.
too down and out.
Who do we've got
You
the
got
crazy taxi guy coming.
um the Monkey Ball, right? Isn't that in there?
Yeah, Monkey Ball's in there.
Um, what else is free that I have? Oh,
Hatsune Miku.
naturally. Uh, oh my God, what's the name of that series? Fighting game turn RPG. Oh my God,
Yakuza.
Yakuza. That's it.
Like a Dragon. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've got Ichi.
yeah. Oh, and the other
Um,
one too. The
oh yeah, Majima, the pirate
Majima,
version
yes.
of Majima. Um,
Oh,
Samba de Amigos coming in
right.
September.
Knights.
Knights is in there.
Knights is the
Joker from
one.
Persona 5.
Yeah, I think Knights is the one where I think you have some hope that you might see a Panzer character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I am intrigued. I don't know that Sega's interested in reviving its old stuff. So maybe Maybe there's something.
You're getting there. You got Shinobi. Crazy Taxi's around the corner.
Shinobi was good. Crazy Taxi, we'll see.
I know people were sour because of the one thing about it, but that's just a place. All right.
I don't love the I don't love the approach of what they're doing with this.
I don't know too much about it besides the reveal trailer that we saw.
Just seeing the mission markers and the check, like the stuff you've got to do to make progress seems
Okay.
tedious and antithetical to Crazy Taxi to me.
Okay.
But what do I know? Panzer Dragoon's pretty good. Panzer Dragoon is the 64th good, you know? That's what I know. Freecheese.com is the website where all of our stuff has been, and always will be. All of our episodes, including last week's episode where we talked about No More Heroes, and soon it'll be host to next week's episode where we talk about Omega Boost for the PlayStation. We got a solid summer still ahead of us here in the next few weeks of August. Stuff coming up. And then I'm glancing at this. We got a solid run over the next couple months of just good video games. So stay tuned for those. They used to make them. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.